Well, it's that time of year again. Fall is here, the leaves are changing, and it is a beautiful season to be out on the trail. But if you're like me, you might have some questions on what should you do to stay warm while hiking without getting overheated in the process. Because as crazy as it sounds, one of the biggest dangers to cold weather hiking is overheating. I know it sounds a little counterproductive, but more often than not, what we find we do is we put on way too many layers before we head out on the trail. So once you get out on the trail and you get hiking, you build up some of that body temperature and you get your core a little bit warmer, you find that you're going to actually start to sweat in the process. Sweat is the worst thing that could happen to us because that moisture traps against our body and in our clothing and eventually is going to cool down as we take breaks and rests. Getting cold is going to get you sick. So we want to do everything we can to keep warm without overheating and prevent getting sick in the process. There's three basic layers that you want to make sure you have when you're out there doing cold weather hiking. The first one is going to be your base layer. Now this is pretty simple. It's going to be an undershirt, a t-shirt. Some folks like long sleeves. I prefer short sleeves just because I tend to run a little warm. The one thing that you do want to make sure you do with all of your base layers is avoid cotton. As much as I love to wear cotton, and I talk about cotton a lot, cotton unfortunately traps moisture. And by trapping moisture, it allows us to get cold. After you've established a good base layer, then you're going to want to work on your mid layer. And that's essentially an overshirt. A lot of folks wear a fleece. I like to wear another synthetic product similar to my base layer. It's got a little bit more breathability, helps pull that moisture away from my body. And this one I'm always going to wear a long sleeve. I treat it generally like an overcoat. It's something that's easy to pull on and off during your hike, help you regulate your temperature. Your third primary layer is going to be your shell. What a lot of folks like to do is wear a puffy jacket of some kind. Today I'm wearing a 650 fill down jacket. This is great for that 20 to 45 degree range. It's good for a cold fall morning or even kind of a warmer winter hike. But I certainly wouldn't wear it if it's extreme temperatures or well below freezing. In cases like that, then you might want to find you're going to put on an additional layer just to try and trap that heat in. I've found that if my three basic layers aren't quite enough, then I'll pull out my trusted raincoat that I always have in my pack, whether it's summer, winter, or fall hiking, because you never know here in the Northwest when it's going to rain. And this added thin layer is just enough to trap in that extra little bit of body temperature and keep you warm when you first start out on your hike. Okay, so that covers the basics of keeping warm on a hike, but let's talk about the things that aren't quite as obvious to us. The main places that we lose temperature throughout our bodies is our head, our hands, and our feet. So it's always important to make sure you have a good pair of socks when you're out there hiking. Again, avoid cotton. Cotton socks are going to build up that moisture and they're not going to let it escape from your feet. That cold moisture is going to bring your core temperature down. So make sure you have a good pair of socks. I think a lot of folks wear the Darn Tough, or there's types from Columbia you can wear. Whatever brand you prefer, just avoid cotton. So make sure you have a good pair of socks that'll keep your feet warm and help pull the moisture away from your feet in the event that they do get wet. Some other items to talk about, obviously, is keeping our head warm too. It's amazing the power of a stocking cap. Just a simple basic stocking cap is enough to trap an extra 10 to 15 degrees of body temperature and keep your core warm without adding too many extra pounds or layers. So make sure you've got a stocking cap in your bag. Sometimes you might find that that's exactly what you need to get over that initial hump when the day first gets started and it's a little colder than you're ready for. It's also nice at the end of the day when you're sitting down and relaxing around your campsite and you're starting to cool down as the day winds down. So get a nice good stocking cap. It's going to help you keep a lot warmer. And the last piece of gear, which some think of as a luxury item, but I think is a basic necessity, is a good pair of gloves. I don't know about you, but my hands are always cold. It doesn't take a lot to help warm them up, but every little bit helps. So depending on the temperature of the hike, I'm going to carry a good heavy-duty pair of winter gloves with me, or If it's just a cool evening hike or an early morning hike that's just a little bit crisper than I'd like, then I find I actually keep this fancy pair of one-size-fits-all gloves. And you might laugh at me for wearing my kids' gloves, but the amazing thing is, just these little mittens make all the difference in the world. Keep your hands warm, keep your head warm, and keep your feet dry, and you're going to have a much better adventure out there on the trail. As the seasons are changing and fall and winter are here and it's time to get out and do some more cold weather adventures, don't let that cold weather be a deterrent for you. It's time to get out on the trail and have some great adventures. So regardless of what your budget is, make sure you pack enough gear to stay warm, stay dry, and stay safe. Then get out there on the trail and have a great adventure. I do want to note that everything I showed in this video, I've purchased over a period of years, but I can tell you that every single item was purchased for under $30. You don't have to be rich, and you don't have to buy that high-end name brand products. Just some good, high-quality, inexpensive gear is pretty easy to find. You just need to know where to look. So take a little bit of time, find the gear that's going to be right for you, and then get out there on the trail and go have a great adventure.